This is Nash's Copse Lake, a lake known for holding some of the UK's biggest carp, producing over 8 fish over 50, including a 60-pound mirror. Sadly though, the lake did go into decline and Kevin's decision was to drain and completely remodel the lake in 2018. But we are here, Carp Chapters is back, and I've been invited to see what still remains in Nash's Copse Lake.
Ooh, on that little spot. Well, I was literally just about to start this episode of Carp Chapters and a fish is just boshed where I'm going to put a rod, but let's not get carried away. I'm here, Carp Chapters is back, and I'm really looking forward to this one because I'm sat in Kevin Nash's back garden on the Copse Lake. Now, the Church Lake is just over there. It's got some absolute banging fishing, and the Copse Lake, well, it used to have, right, correct me if I'm wrong, like 850s and a 60-pound mirror, but unfortunately the lake did run into a bit of trouble and Kevin had to sort of move some fish away. Some fish died and the lake had to be drained down, but it's back. It's been filled back up, it's been limed, it's had what it needs to do to come back, and there's some awesome fish swimming around in here, and that's what I'm doing. I'm here for 2 days and hopefully we can get amongst some of those fish. Now, I'm in the swim. Dean the bailiff has walked us around. He showed us some spots, showed us some lightly good areas. He's even chucked our gear onto the quad and trailer and brought it around to the swim. Now, what an edge, what an edge. But there's a couple of rods here. They've got old rigs on. I need to tie some fresh ones. I ain't gonna catch any of these Copse Lake fish sitting here. So what I'm gonna do is get some rigs tied up and we'll get them out and hopefully come up with a game plan for the rest of the trip. You're allowed to use bait boats on the Copse Lake, so why not, is what I say. Let's just nick a little bag onto here.
Yes, the Copse is back, and fortunately, everyone can come and have a go. It is exclusive booking here now at Nash's Copse Lake, and you can do that on Kevin Nash's website. I'll leave a link in the description and you can look into booking your own trip here in Nash's back garden. But for the time being, let's get back to my session. I didn't waste any time and used the aid of the bait boat to neatly and stealthily put some rigs on some likely looking areas.
I did just see a fish crash down here, and I had a little lead, and it's a lovely hard clay spot, and hopefully I can get this. Perfect. Nice, just there. You can use 4 rods here, just thought I might mention that. So I am, because when in Rome, why not? But a little quick tip I'm gonna just show you is when you're lowering the rods in, basically just off the tips, if you get your swivel and cut it off your lead, it may look a bit cumbersome and you wouldn't want to cast it out like that, but when you're lowering it in, that, especially because I'm fishing on this clay, just plugs in, and literally when the fish picks it up, it feels the weight of that lead straight away without having that movement of the swivel. I know it's only minimal, but those 1% definitely make a difference. So if you're lowering it in with a lead clip, take off the swivel and put it straight on your lead clip like so. I'm just going to lower that with a big old sausage on the end, just off the rod tip, a little handful of bait around it, and that's it.
Okay, so the last and final rod needs putting in position, and as I just mentioned, it's a margin spot for this one. Dean the bailiff, he suggested that margins are the one here on the Copse Lake. A lot of fish get caught from the edges, and after a little lead around in this reedy sort of corner, I found that at the bottom of the marginal shelf, it was firm, sticky clay, and in my opinion, a perfect place to present my rig. So with a little PVA bag or mesh bag, lowered down onto the spot, a couple of handfuls of crumb boilie, nothing too excessive, just enough to get a bite. I'm not trying to feed these carp and keep them there, I'm just trying to nick a bite as they come through. And with that in mind, a nice slack line, keep everything out the way, creep off slowly, and you're fishing. The only thing to do next is get that kettle on.
AD and Nash collab. Literally just having a chat with Dean the bailiff, who's just there, and he said, I lost my voice. He said, if any rod's gonna go, it's gonna be this one. And it is. I'm ready. Is the fish ready? Come on. I've got a barbless on there. Come on, get in. It's in the net. Come on, fatty bum bum. Rightio. That's what you're saying, Amanda.
30. It looks like a 30.
Not quite.
You're saying upper 20.
Oh,
It's close.
it's very, very, very close, but it's not quite a 30 pounder. 29 pound. You were very close. Yes. Perfect. That's a great start. Definite chubber, this one. Just shy of 30 pounds, but the first fish for me here at the Copse Lake, and it's been like 2 hours, hasn't it? It's not been long at all. And we have this fella on the right hand rod for the little poke hole just to the right of the swim. Dynamite spot, like Dean mentioned, it is a really, really good spot, and you can't go against any bailiff's advice, can you, on these lakes? They're here all the time. They know where fish get caught, they know where the bait goes, and that goes to prove. So cool fish, cool start. Let's get it back, get the rod back in position, and hopefully we can have another fish very soon. Under the bridge. See you later, mate. Lovely. Ta-da! It's quite a nice little pattern, this.
New rig tied, snowman on the hair, and not forgetting a PVA stick.
Done.
No need to change a thing with this rod. All we're going to do is swing the rig back out to the same spot, donk, and we're done. One thing to mention while fishing small, intimate little lakes, just like the Copse, it's different to a gravel pit like a big lake. If you cast too much, you're heavy under the foot. Even things like too many lines in one end of the lake is going to push the fish away. So with that in mind, I thought if I saw other activity, other fish at the opposite end of the lake, tomorrow I'm going to head down there with a couple of rods and just sort of rest at the sort of base camp end for the day. That way you can sort of push the fish around the lake and you're not leaving yourself with a fishless end of the lake. So after that, Dean, he popped round in the afternoon, we had a cup of tea and we chatted all things carp, but as soon as he'd left, it was decision to get 2 rods freshly done and out into the main body of the lake, where I'd seen a few fish jump that afternoon. The water level on the Copse currently at the moment is really low, and what that does mean is pretty treacherous getting that bait boat in and out of the water. Amanda though, making sure she filmed every second just in case I fell in. With that said, all the rods went out super neat, and as the evening rolled in, I was super confident of a bite during the night or possibly early hours of the morning.
Well, it's a beautiful morning here on the Copse Lake. The mist is rising, my kettle has just boiled, so you know what that means, cup of tea while watching the lake. But more importantly, in the net just down there is a really cool common carp. So I had a bite just before first light and bundled the carp into the net, but I'm not going to show you quite yet because it's still just a little bit too dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cup of tea, chill out, wait for the sun to rise, and then we'll get this carp out and we'll show you. Happy days. 31.6. Lovely. Check out that for a carp. This one, I believe, is one of the spawns of the original Copse Lake fish. You can tell by his little wilted dorsal fin and fins, like an absolutely unreal carp. 31.5 pound, I think it was. 31 and a bit, something like that. I don't really care. It's an absolute creature and, well, really made up with this one. I think what we're gonna do though, is we are gonna have a little move. I mentioned yesterday that I got a little game plan, and that is to pop down the other end with a few rods because there was a bit of activity down there last night and there's not been much activity down this end. So that's what I'm gonna do. Slip this back and we'll give it a little while and then we'll head down there with the rods. Mega.
Time for plan B. Yes, time to move to the opposite end of the lake. I reeled in and made my way round. No barrow on this session, so several trips round with the gear made me think I should ring Dean and his quad. I am lazy, but I ain't that lazy. No changes to the rig, just a small little adjustment to the hook bait just to make it a little bit more like a wafter. A little bit trimmed off the bottom bait will do. Now a PVA stick and we're ready to go. The first rod was just swung into position, lovely clay, hard spot at the bottom of the marginal shelf. Perfect. Now just a handful of bait and we're fishing. For rod number 2, yep, I'm using the Nash baiting spoon. If you're not using a baiting spoon and you're angling, can you even call yourself a carp angler? Yet again, on the bottom of the marginal shelf, but on the marginal shelf of the island, mixing things up. Happy days. Big cast here, Chris. Be careful. Whew. Thank God you done that alright. Yet again, third rod, marginal shelf, bit of bait, all good.
Right, okay, so all 3 rods are done. I'm trying to keep my voice down just a little bit because I've literally got a rod here, and a rod just there. Little poke holes down this channel because we saw lots of fish here yesterday. And the plan was to sort of rest our sort of base camp sort of zone and sort of come down here for the day and literally try and see if we can nick one while it's really hot. So that's what we've done. I've lowered a few rigs in and I've used the baiting spoon just to be that extra stealthy. And hopefully that'll pay off. We can get a fish like that. But I've told Amanda we've got to keep very quiet because we're literally just fishing under the tips just here. I think what I'm going to do though, because the sun is so hot, I've got a tarp here, I'm going to get it up between these 2 trees. That gives us a little bit of shelter. We've got a little bit of wind trickling in, so it's not going to be too uncomfortable, and fingers crossed, this will pay off. Here we go, Amanda. Don't say I don't look after you. Prime spot. It's cool under here, isn't it? We need now to go and set some rabbit traps, some snares. Try and get our tea. Do you know how to make a snare? Perfect. Pop you pop, you've worked hard. Food time. Oh,
Silly man.
oh.
You're on.
I'm on, aye. Great. I'm back at base camp, and as you can see, the little move didn't really pay off. You got to try these things. I thought I was being ultra carpy, just sort of scattering my rods through little poke holes through on that sort of marginal shelf. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and unfortunately this time it didn't. But we're back here in base camp, like I mentioned, and I'm going to get 2 rods out ready for the night. Now, I thought I'd just quickly run through the sort of rigs and sort of bait application before we go into the evening. It's nothing too complicated. I've just got a real short, coated supple hook link with a size 5 Nash pinpoint claw hook and a little bit of shrink tubing. Now, these beach point hooks are perfect when there's a barbless rule, because I find they have to go in and they beak in, and to come out they have to come out the same way on a little bit of a curve, aided with that bit of shrink tube, and it sort of grips the bottom lip of the carp. And to be fair, you don't get many losses with the beaked points when you're using barbless hooks. On the hair, again, snowman rig, little bottom bait with a little 10mm pop up that just sits with the hook flat. Bait sits up like a little snowman, real simple. The only other little addition that I've been adding to this is I've been making a little PVA stick of crushed boilie, threading it onto the hook link. That masks the point and stops the hair from tangling around the shank of the hook. And it really is that simple. I just lower it in onto the marginal shelf, also the bottom of the marginal shelf, and that's both fish I've had has been from the same rod, just in this little hole poked through the reeds there. It's real simple stuff, real stealthy. I'm keeping my line nice and slack out of the way, and that seems to be doing the biz. As far as bait, I've literally just got crumb boilie. I've just been palming it over the top. 2 handfuls, that's all you need to get a bite in it. It's been doing the job. Hopefully it can do the same again tomorrow morning or through the night, we'll see. But yeah, let's get these rods out, and then we can just sort of chill out and let the sun go down.
So with the 2 fish I've caught so far, I am over the moon, and after talking to Dean, he informs me that they're going to be keeping the stock level on the copse relatively low. Now, there is only 35 fish in the lake currently, and with 2 caught at around the 30-pound mark, I think their aim for a small, low-stocked big fish venue, well, it's on track.
Quickly get your
Laying
shoes
a
on.
fish while putting my trainers on. Always a good way to start a morning. Hello. This is what I was sitting there hoping. It's only a baby, but I was hoping for one more bite before we have to reel in and go home. I've got a bite. Got to concentrate on getting it in, but it is only a small one. I've seen it just show on the top, but you know what, I don't mind. It's been a great a couple of days here at the Copse, got some great fish. Yeah. See, I had a little rig change last night, and that sort of helped. Yes! One more before we go home. I'm asking for trouble here, and
You are, yeah.
I'm asking for trouble. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The hook's come out of the fish, but just popped into the net, but it is barbless, so there we go. I I might as well show you, I've got it in my hand. Went for a little rig change last night. We put both rods out around the edge of this island, but I kept seeing one show down the side. I thought I'd go back to the old little yellow perils, ooh, on a little Ronnie, and it's done the trick. So little rig change or spot move maybe. Got me that bite because I did leave one down straight in front and that hasn't done anything, so that was a move or rig change that paid off, I would say. All right, let's have a look at this fish. Well, as far as cool characters go, this is up there, only small like I mentioned. It's got the same genetics as the first common we caught with the wilted fins, but it's not a problem. This one's so much that its tail is pretty much non-existent, but it's just genetics from the original strain of fish that used to live in the Copse. And I think that it's fitting that they're still in the Copse Lake to these days. So I think it's cool. Let me know in the comments below if you think it is or not, but I've had a great few days either way. I've caught some cracking fish. That common at 31.5 pounds was, well, was mega in my eyes. I couldn't have asked for a better trip. If you want to book at the Copse Lake or even the church lake behind us, I'll leave a link in the description. You can click that, it takes you to Nash's website and you can book from there. I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly have making it. Click that like button if you have, subscribe if you haven't already, and what we'll do is we'll catch up on the next episode of Carp Chapters.